Report number 144-18, final reading of Senate Bill 2571, Conference Draft 1, relating to water pollution.
Is there any discussion? Senator Baker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in strong support of Senate Bill 2571 relating to water pollution. This measure will protect our vulnerable coral reefs and marine ecosystems by prohibiting the sale of sunscreens containing either oxybenzone, octanate, or both, beginning January 1, 2021. You know, our reefs are under extreme threat from global climate change. From 2014 to 2016, the longest bleaching events ever occurred, killing coral reefs on a greater scale than has ever been previously recorded. I'm very proud of the Senate leadership in our legislature, along with the House, that we've taken to address with statewide policy our climate change. But we know that Hawaii cannot do it alone. And this is one way that we can help. In 2015, a study published in the Archives of Environmental Contamination and Toxicology showed deleterious effects on larval coral in a laboratory setting. These effects were shown to occur at oxybenzone concentrations less than those that have been measured at some of our beaches here in Hawaii. Considering the many stressors already faced by reefs and the evidences of toxicity of certain components of sunscreen to corals and other marine organisms, a proactive policy is required to protect our reefs, especially here in Hawaii, where we have high levels of marine-based tourism. Additionally, overexposure to UV radiation is indisputably a human health concern. It causes skin cancer. And because one doesn't typically apply makeup before going for a swim in the ocean, I support the common sense exception for cosmetic products. I'm pleased to see that some of our manufacturers of sunscreen products have already begun to reformulate their products to ensure that we don't see an increase in skin cancer for those who enjoy the out of doors here. I want to extend a particular mahalo to Chair Rhodes for his leadership in this area and for bringing forth the bill that we have today. Please join me in supporting Senate Bill 2571, Conference Draft 1. Mahalo.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator Gabbard.
Mr. President, I rise in strong support of the measure.
Please proceed.
Colleagues, this legislation is a big step forward for the protection of our coral reefs, marine life, and human health. When it goes into effect on January 1st, 2021, it will be the first law passed not only in the country, but in the entire world, to ban sunscreens that contain the dangerous chemicals oxybenzone and octinoxate. And for the record, Mexico has taken administrative action to ban the use of sunscreens with these chemicals in their nature preserves, but this measure will be the first law. Scientific evidence indicates that these chemicals induce coral bleaching, harm and kill coral larvae by creating gross deformities, and act as an endocrine disruptor. As it relates to human health, these chemicals are linked to causing breast cancer to become more aggressive, polluting breast milk, causing Hirschsprung deformity in newborns, and associated with women's uterine diseases, threaten male sexual health, and can damage DNA. There's evidence that oxybenzone is even showing up in our aquifers and our drinking water. Worldwide, 50% of our coral reefs were lost in 2014 and 2015 because of coral bleaching. The main factor that has contributed to the decline of our coral reefs is localized pollution, such as sewage, pesticide runoff, and chemical sunscreens. So how much sunscreen are we talking about? According to the U.S. National Park Service, more than 6,000 tons of sunscreen end up in Hawaiian waters every single year. And to localize this a little bit more, DLNR has reported that 55 gallons, that's right, 55 gallons of sunscreen are going into our nearshore waters each day on Maui. So with this volume of chemical sunscreens pouring into our oceans in areas like Kapalua and Hanauma Bay, of course, our reefs are going to have next to no chance of recovery. The fact is, SB 2571 was inspired by science. And my hat is off to Dr. Robert Richmond of UH, Dr. Ruth Gates of the Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology, and Dr. Craig Downs of the Hereticus Environmental Lab for providing us the facts to help us make an informed and educated decision. Reef-friendly sunscreens refer to those that have been scientifically proven to be safe in our environment and contain active ingredients such as non-nano-sized titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. And as I mentioned, Dr. Craig Grounds, a forensic ecotoxicologist, has been one of our principal scientific experts in crafting this legislation. He informed us that he'll be excited to now allow his 6-year-old daughter, Evelyn, to swim in Kapalua and Hanauma Bay and outdoor swimming pools in our state once this ban takes effect. Think about that for a moment. The scientist who has shown us the high concentration of oxybenzone in Hanauma Bay thinks that it's too dangerous for his daughter to get in the water there. Much has been said about whether there will be enough alternatives to sunscreens that contain oxybenzone and octinoxate. However, even the mainstream names of sunscreens already offer alternatives, not to mention eco-friendly ones like Raw Elements, All Good, Babo Botanicals, Badger, Goddess Garden, Happy as Larry, Hawaii Medicinals, Kuleana Sun Production, Little Hands Hawaii, Mama Kuleana, Manda Naturals, Raw Love, and Soul Kind Maui that are on the store shelves today. And Little Hands Hawaii is actually making their sunscreen here. So SB 2571 is a good first step in keeping oxybenzone or octinoxate out of our water and away from our bodies, and it's definitely the right thing to do. Please join me in voting yes on this important bill. Mahalo.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator Sparrow.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to rise in support of this measure.
Please proceed.
And if you could take the words of the senators from Maui and from Kapolei and please put them in a journal as if they were my own, I would certainly appreciate it very much. Now, if our coral reefs can speak and talk, they'd be saying, thank you very much, Hawaii legislature, as well as the marine life that lives along our corals, our precious corals that we here enjoy, as well as millions of tourists each day. As was stated in 2015, there was research that showed the effects, the harmful effects done by Dr. Craig Downs from the Heredicus Environmental Lab in Virginia, who happens to be also one who attended the University of Hawaii. So it's good to see one of our own local researchers and scientists involved in this. And in 2016, at the Honolulu Coral Reef Symposium, he presented his research and his work, his science to the world. And the world took notice and began watching Hawaii. In September of 2016, the IUCN World Conservation Congress came to Hawaii and very excitedly listened and read about what Hawaii was doing. We had legislation in 2017 that didn't pass, but this year was the year. And I want to congratulate those stakeholders, the Maui Ocean Center, Sierra Club, Surfrider Foundation, Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition, and all of the ocean enthusiasts, as well as students, because many elementary school students, high school students also got on board with this cause and understood how important it is to preserve and help our coral. There are many factors hurting and harming our coral, and some of them are out of control of us as lawmakers, but this is one that is a no-brainer. Imagine a chemical, a man-made chemical, and if it was poured all over you, and it just stayed there 24 hours a day. That's what's happening in Hanauma Bay and other areas. And with this measure, in 2021, we will be making groundbreaking history as we show the world the way in taking care of our ocean resources and protecting our marine environment. So colleagues, I urge you to support this, and thank you very much for what we are doing on this measure.
Senator English.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of the measure.
Please proceed.
I ask that the words of the previous speakers from Maui and Kapolei and Eva be inserted into the journal as if they were my own. I'd also like to add my perspective on this. You know, colleagues, we've worked very hard on many things, but this particular one is a momentous achievement for us, and here's why. We have to take action on things that we don't have full information on, and some have argued that we need to have more studies, we need to have more science, we need to look at this more in depth. But, I prefer the precautionary principle that we take action now based on the information that we have, protect the resource, and then take a look at further science. I think that's a more prudent way to go, and I think we should look at this precautionary principle as we move forward with other pieces of legislation relating to the environment, because if we get it wrong, we lose something forever. I'd like to also point out that, in many ways this bill helps us to achieve the legislative agenda that we put forward early on in the session, particularly number 12, responsible consumption and production, and I'll read this. It says, we will work diligently to achieve sustainable management, efficient use of natural resources, promote sound management of all waste, enact methods for companies to adapt sustainable practices, and provide people with relevant information for sustainable lifestyles. We also hit number 14, life below water. We will take action to sustainably manage and protect our marine and coastal ecosystems by supporting policies that aim to reduce pollution and enhance ocean-related management. We've also hit a few others with this particular bill, but I want to point out that when we began the session, we had a very ambitious agenda, and I want to congratulate everyone here in the Senate, because I think in many ways we have met our goals. And as we move forward with this particular measure, the entire world will watch. We've set a standard that's very high that many sovereign states will aim towards. Many countries in the South Pacific and in the Indian Oceans and the Caribbean Oceans, island nations, will take this as a template and hopefully will begin enacting it in their jurisdictions. So with that, Mr. President, I rise in strong support of this measure, and I add my congratulations to this body. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I forgot to instruct that you would enter the remarks as if they were his own in regards to Senator Espero's request, and also that we would insert remarks as if they were his own for Senator English as requested. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Reservations for Senator Nishihara, Senator Taniguchi?
25 ayes.
Thank you. Senate Bill 2571, Conference Draft 1, passes final reading.